Emergency response team, what's the situation?
We need an ambulance now. A trainer's been pulled under.
The radio's desperate crackle split the Oklahoma afternoon. September 21st, 2025. Outside the private preserve. Families who had come to see magnificent predators up close now pressed against barriers in stunned silence. Children clung to their parents. Tears streaming down faces that had been filled with wonder moments before. But inside the cage, in the sawdust and shadows, lay the broken form of a man who believed he understood monsters. Ryan Easley, 37 years old. The tiger had bitten him around the neck and shoulder, likely killing him instantly. His wife and young daughter watched, helpless, as the massive cat shook their husband and father like a rag doll. And then, in a moment that would haunt everyone present, the tiger simply stopped. It released him, not because anyone forced it to. The tiger didn't want to kill him, experts would later say. It had made its point, asserted its dominance, reminded everyone watching what it truly was, a predator. And Ryan Easley, for all his years of devotion, had always been prey. This is the story of a boy who dreamed of taming death, and the man who died trying. Born in 1987 in Hugo, Oklahoma, Ryan Easley grew up in the shadow of circus tents and traveling menageries. Hugo called itself Circus City, USA. And for young Ryan, it might as well have been heaven. But heaven, when it involves apex predators, has a way of becoming hell. Stay with us, because Ryan's story is far from unique. It's a pattern, written in blood and broken dreams, and it's still happening today. Ryan was an 8-year-old boy, padding silently through darkened pathways, his father's keys jangling like wind chimes in the Oklahoma night. Most children his age were safely tucked in bed, but Ryan Easley was different. His father worked night shifts at various animal facilities around Hugo, and sometimes, when childcare fell through, young Ryan tagged along. The zoo at night was another world entirely. Empty concrete walks glistening with dew, steel bars catching moonlight, and behind them, in the darkness, the slow, deliberate breathing of creatures that could kill. Lions paced unseen, their golden eyes floating like ghost lights in the black. Elephants shifted their massive weight, chains rattling, and from the tiger enclosure came sounds that made Ryan's heart race. Low chuffs, warning growls, the scrape of claws against concrete, where other children might have cowered behind their father. Ryan drifted closer, his small hands wrapped around cold steel bars, face pressed between them, trying to peer into the darkness beyond. "Stay back, son," his father would murmur. But the warning never landed, because in those moments, in that dangerous silence, Ryan felt something he couldn't name. Not fear, but recognition, as if he belonged there, in that space between safety and death. One night, when Ryan was 12, a massive tiger emerged from the shadows of its enclosure. The boy stood transfixed as the predator approached the bars, each footstep deliberate, purposeful, for a heartbeat that felt like eternity. Boy and beast stared at each other. Ryan could see his own reflection in those golden eyes, could hear his heartbeat thundering in his ears, could smell the musk of something wild and untamed. The tiger's lips pulled back slightly, not in aggression, but in what Ryan would later swear was recognition. From that moment, Ryan Easley was lost. Growing up in Hugo meant growing up around danger. The town served as winter quarters for traveling circuses, a place where exotic animals waited out the cold months in temporary cages. Ryan haunted these lots like a ghost, carrying buckets, cleaning cages, soaking up the culture of men who worked with death for a living. The trainers were a breed apart. Some carried themselves with the confidence of gods. Others moved with the careful, measured steps of men who had learned respect the hard way. All bore scars, visible and invisible, for moments when the illusion of control had slipped. "Listen to me, boy," one grizzled veteran told 17-year-old Ryan, his arms crisscrossed with claw marks. "These animals, they don't love you, they tolerate you, and the day they stop tolerating you." He left the sentence unfinished, but his scars told the story. Ryan nodded, but in his heart, he didn't believe it. His connection was different, special, built on something deeper than mere tolerance. He was wrong. At 21, Ryan officially entered the circus world as an apprentice trainer. For the next 16 years, he would perfect an act that looked like magic, but was actually a careful dance with death. Every performance was a negotiation, every command a gamble, every moment in the cage a test of whether today would be the day his luck ran out. But Ryan had convinced himself it wasn't luck at all. He believed it was love. By the early 2000s, ShowMe Tigers had made Ryan Easley a name in the big cat world. His performances were poetry in motion, man and beast moving as one. The audience gasping as Ryan casually rested his hand on a tiger's flank. What they couldn't see, what Ryan worked desperately to hide, was the tremor in his hands before each show, the way his breath came short when he approached the cage door, the constant calculation behind his eyes, measuring distance, reading body language, watching for the telltale signs that meant today might be different. Because every trainer knew the truth they never spoke aloud. It only takes 1 second, one moment of inattention, one flicker of the wild instinct that no amount of training can ever fully suppress. Ryan's tigers seemed to adore him. They followed his commands, performed their tricks, allowed him to touch them with apparent affection. Audiences saw a bond forged by trust and mutual respect. But respect, in the world of apex predators, is just another word for temporary tolerance, and tolerance can end without warning. Eventually, Ryan established his own sanctuary, Growler Pines Tiger Preserve, nestled in the woods near Hugo, became home to retired circus animals. Ryan marketed it as a place of salvation, where old performers could live out their days in peace. Critics called it what it was, an unaccredited roadside zoo that continued exploiting big cats for entertainment. But Ryan believed in his mission. He spoke passionately about conservation, about the special bond he shared with each animal under his care. One tiger in particular, a massive male he had raised since it was a cub, seemed to embody everything Ryan believed about human-animal connection. For years, the animal had been docile during demonstrations, responsive, almost loving. He would stroke the massive head, look into those golden eyes, and see not a predator, but a partner. He was looking at his own death and calling it friendship. Saturday afternoon at Growler Pines. The Oklahoma heat hung heavy in the air, but families had come anyway, drawn by the promise of seeing magnificent predators up close. Ryan's wife and young daughter were among the spectators, proud supporters who had watched countless performances without incident. They settled into their seats, expecting another routine demonstration. Ryan entered the enclosure with practiced confidence, his movements fluid and assured, but those who knew him well might have noticed the slight hesitation, the way his eyes lingered a fraction too long on the tiger's face, reading something there that made him pause. The demonstration began normally, commands given, tricks performed, the audience appropriately amazed, but something was different in the air, a tension that seemed to make the very atoms vibrate with potential energy. The tiger, the one he'd had for quite some time, began to move with subtle purpose, not the fluid grace of performance, but the careful, measured steps of a predator positioning itself. And then, without warning, without any trigger the humans could identify, the tiger unexpectedly started to bite and then shake easily. The screams that erupted from the crowd were primal, the sound humans make when confronted with their own mortality. Ryan's wife and daughter watched in helpless horror as the massive cat clamped down on his neck and shoulder, shaking him with the casual ease of a house cat with a mouse. The bite likely killed him instantly, but the tiger wasn't finished making its point. For long, agonizing minutes, the predator held Ryan in its jaws, not feeding, not playing, simply asserting, reminding everyone present of a fundamental truth that circus lights and trained routines had helped them forget. This was not a partnership. It had never been a partnership. This was a wild animal tolerating a human, until the moment it chose not to. And when that moment came, as it inevitably would, there was nothing anyone could do but watch. Then, in a moment that would haunt every witness for the rest of their lives, the tiger simply let go. Not because handlers had driven it away, not because of noise or intervention. The tiger didn't want to kill. Experts would later explain, it had made its statement, reminded the world what it was, what it had always been. It stepped back, pacing, golden eyes surveying the chaos it had created. And in those eyes was something that chilled observers to their bones. Not malice, not rage, indifference. As if the life of Ryan Easley, the man who had devoted 37 years to loving these creatures, meant no more to the tiger than swatting a fly. Ryan was not breathing when deputies arrived. The man who believed he could bridge the gap between human and predator lay motionless. His life ended not by hatred, but by the simple assertion of natural order. Growler Pines called it an accident. As if Ryan had slipped on a wet floor rather than been killed by an apex predator doing what apex predators do. The preserve released a statement calling Ryan a passionate advocate for wildlife conservation, whose love for animals defined his life. They spoke of tragedy, of loss, of a man taken too soon. But those who understood the world of big cats knew better. This wasn't a tragedy in the classical sense. It was an inevitability. The only surprise was that it had taken so long. Within hours, the story exploded across social media. Headlines screamed variations of the same theme. Another trainer had paid the price for believing wild animals could be tamed. Animal rights groups seized the moment, demanding an end to private big cat ownership. PETA blamed the abuse and captivity of wild animals, calling Ryan's death a predictable result of an inherently dangerous practice. But lost in the political posturing was a simpler truth. Ryan Easley had died because he loved something that was incapable of loving him back. Not out of cruelty, but because love, as humans understand it, simply doesn't exist in the world of predators. There is only hunger, territory, dominance, survival, and humans, no matter how devoted, will always be on the menu. Ryan's name now joins a litany written in blood and broken dreams. Roy Horn, nearly killed by his beloved white tiger in Las Vegas. The cat that had performed with him for years, suddenly remembering what it was. Dawn Brancho. Killed by an orca she had trained and loved. The whale holding her underwater as tourists screamed. Countless others whose names never made headlines, but whose stories end the same way. With the sudden, shocking reminder that wild animals are never truly tamed. Each believed their bond was special. Each trusted in techniques passed down through generations. Each died because they forgot, or never truly understood, that predators don't have friends. They have prey that they haven't killed yet. Perhaps the most chilling detail of Ryan's death isn't the violence. It's the control the tiger demonstrated. It didn't want to kill him. Wildlife experts noted it could have, easily, but it chose not to. The tiger's decision to release Ryan, to step back and watch him die, was perhaps more terrifying than outright predation, because it revealed something that cuts to the heart of every human who works with dangerous animals. We exist entirely at their discretion. Every moment of apparent affection, every trick performed, every gentle interaction, happens only because the predator allows it. We are not partners. We are not friends. We are temporary guests in the presence of death. And when death chooses to remind us of that fact, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, we can do to stop it. Today, Growler Pines sits empty. The tiger that killed Ryan awaits its fate while humans debate whether it should be destroyed for following its nature. Ryan's family grieves a man who died doing what he loved. Which sounds noble until you realize that what he loved was fundamentally incompatible with staying alive. And somewhere, right now, another trainer is entering another cage, convinced their bond is different, their technique superior, their understanding complete. They're stroking the head of a predator, looking into golden eyes, and seeing love where there is only hunger temporarily satisfied. The cycle continues because we never learn, because the illusion of control over the uncontrollable is intoxicating, because we'd rather believe in magic than accept the brutal simplicity of nature. But nature doesn't care what we believe. It doesn't bend to our desires or yield to our devotion. It simply waits. And when it chooses to remind us what we really are, no amount of love, or trust, or years of shared history can save us from the truth we've been running from all along. In the world of apex predators, there are no partners, there are only predators, and prey that haven't been eaten yet. Ryan Easley spent 37 years forgetting which one he was. The tiger, in a single afternoon, reminded him. The bars are still there at Growler Pines, empty now, waiting for the next dreamer who believes they can bridge the unbridgeable gap between human ambition and natural law. Will you be watching when the next shadow falls? Subscribe, because the line between awe and annihilation is thinner than you think, and more people keep trying to cross it. The wild is patient, but it never forgets what it is. And neither should we.